warm welcome to all of you, and thanks for being here. I mean, I'm really thrilled to see all of you at this point of the hour on Friday evening. These are things which you see in every industry, every segment, right? If I have to just take one example, maybe a finance sector, like all of us used to go to the banks, right? I mean, branch, and everything we had to do, we had to go to the branch and do it, right? Getting the money out or depositing, everything. Today, I mean, in last few years, the way things have changed. I mean, we are sitting here, maybe you're just attending this session and doing your transactions. And these are financial transactions, right? So that means you are now okay to do that because you understand that the technology behind this is really secure and you don't need to worry about it, right? So similarly, things are happening in all the industries, right? It is take your healthcare or you take manufacturing, everywhere. I mean, maybe the pace is a little bit slow here and there, but eventually everybody is transforming or everybody is on their journey to transformation, right? So when we look at what these businesses, right, who are transforming are really seeking out of it as an outcome. So three things which comes very, very prominently, or they're very visible, is for those businesses like what you have, right? You want to create new value for your customers. So when you're saying new value, you are into a marketplace where there is a competition. There's somebody else also is offering some of those things which are very similar to what you're doing, right? And how do you differentiate? You have to create some value for your users, for your end customers, right? So that you differentiate, have the competitive edge. Now while doing this, you would also want to have an engagement which is transformed. You can't be going with the traditional approach, right? Today, if as a bank, right, if I have to give an end user an experience, can I say, okay, you go to my website and all the information is available? No, gone are the days. I mean, website is just one way of accessing your data or your account details, right? You have apps today which are very well innovated and you are available on the mobile devices or any other devices for that matter, where you can do all your work which is related to your account or whatever you want to do with the banking transactions. So what does that mean is the businesses need to give the personalized experiences to end users. When you give that personalized experiences, that is where you can grow your business, right? And one of the ways to do it, and I will talk about it, is to give a different experience on the application side, because what runs today as a business is application, right? Now while we are doing all of this, most important thing comes at last. Today, if you have been hearing, I'm sure all of you are aware about the breaches and the security issues which happen, right? I mean, WannaCry, ransomwares, I mean, there is no limitation in terms of what kind of breaches can happen. Every day you hear about something new. So when you are doing digital, right, while it is good, also you come up with a risk factor, right? The attack surface is growing. The reason is because the data is no more only in the data center. It is going to edges now. It is like, if I have to take an example, I think one of the IDC surveys talk about next 2 years, your computing, right? Today computing mainly happens in the data center or at the back end, at the data center or cloud, right? They're expecting the computing of 43% would be happening on the edge. So that means more and more data and powerful things are happening at the edge now, right? So while it is good and it is giving more power to the end user, it is also worrying for IT, right? How do you really ensure that whatever these guys are accessing as applications and data is always secure and it doesn't hamper or affect the brand, right? Because if the brand is affected, your trust is affected with the customer. And as we all know, right, building trust takes a lot of time, but and once it happens, and there are many names I don't want to really take here, but worldwide names, right? We have seen if the attack happens and if somebody is not able to respond to the attack, right, the damage is done, right? You have lost the customer forever. Getting them back is very difficult. So all of us understand that, right? So when you look at what VMware is really doing with this, right? So we know about digital business. It's about people, process, technology as well, but most importantly, how adaptive, resilient and secure that business is, right? That's the key. So you have people, processes, you have modern apps to deal with, you have data, you may running some of the traditional apps. What is important is this middle, these are the three things which are very important. So today I'm just going to focus on how VMware is really helping the digital businesses to create the foundation, right? Because for anything we know, right, the foundation has to be very, very strong. And for us, the foundation means these three key pillars: consistent operations, consistent infrastructure, and intrinsic security. So I'll dwell upon all of this, but most importantly, what we are trying to say is Your business runs with the applications and your end customers and users, right? Wherever those applications run, you want to provide a consistent infrastructure to them, right? You want to also ensure that it doesn't matter where my apps are running or my data is, but the operations, the day 2 part has to be consistent. And most importantly, as I said, right, the security part today has to be intrinsic. That means it has to be there at all the layers. You cannot say, okay, my data center is secure and I have done everything which is required, but if your perimeter, if your end users are not, your branches are not, it doesn't make sense at all. Because today, as we know, the data doesn't sit there, right? So again, coming to this foundation which we saw, the consistent operations, infrastructure part, the intrinsic security, what we did around 2 years back, we came up with 4 strategic IT priorities which we feel are important for IT to support the business and really transform the experience for their customers, right? So these are the priorities: modernized data center and integrating public clouds, the networking security transformation, and empowering digital workspaces, right? So if you can now onwards see that what I'm referring to, you can very well relate to the discussions done earlier today in the panel as well as when Abhijit was speaking, right? So let's dwell upon it quickly in individuals. So if I have to really break this down further, and if I take these 2 strategic IT priorities, I was talking about software-defined private cloud. I think I already mentioned about it, the agility, the speed, right, the automation part, right? And I believe when we say the expanded to hybrid cloud, this is basically to integrate with multiple public clouds. Just to give an example today, and today's world is collaboration, right? Every vendor is working with each other because everybody knows that nobody can say I have a complete solution and what to offer to the customers. So it's a collaborative world today. And taking that trend ahead, we have multiple partnerships. And when we talk about extending hybrid cloud, what we have done is with public cloud providers like AWS, public cloud providers like IBM Software, Azure, all the top vendors, we are ensuring that the customers get the same experience, the same skill set, the same people, the same processes can be used even in the public cloud, right? So today as we speak, in IBM public cloud, which is software, you can run the same software-defined data center which VMware offers, from like vSphere, the network virtualization which is NSX, and the storage virtualization which is vSAN. The entire stack, along with the management platform, we call it as SDDC, right? The software-defined data center. You can run it as it is, as bare metal in IBM Software. And saying this is good, but we have customers who are really using it. And the purpose they are using it is very, very critical. They are financial customers, they are telcos, or there are other customers, but they are using this and consuming this services, right? Same is the case now today with AWS, and that's reality in US and EMEA, and very soon it is coming to India, where you can run VMware Cloud on AWS, right? So that's what we are talking about as our vision, and it's continuously expanding. Like today, we work with Microsoft for that matter, where we offer desktop as a service through Microsoft Azure, right? So that's where I said it's a world of collaboration. The most important part here again is automation, right? We mentioned, and I think somebody in the panel also mentioned that automation doesn't take away jobs. So nothing to worry for IT, because that's first thing comes, right? If I automate things, what will happen for people? So people will now essentially do a different job. They will do more intelligent things rather than doing a typical traditional operations, right? Today, if you're seeing somebody who has not maybe started this journey, you can very well relate in terms of how much time they're really spending in terms of operations, right? Day to thing, troubleshooting, and really not having time to think about how they can innovate. If I take that burden out from this team or the operations team, they can actually use their time to think and bring in something new for the business, right? So that's what automation brings in, right? The last but not least in this part is next generation applications. Today, whenever we interact with customers, while they're very well running traditional applications, the adoption of modern applications is ever increasing. And I have seen some customers really rewriting the applications. The reason is because they want to have this application running anywhere. When I'm saying anywhere, either on their private cloud or in public cloud, and can be run on any device, right? So those kind of applications traditionally were not there, so they are rewriting this, right? So that means the platform or offering or the software-defined data center vision we have should have something where we can run both these applications. So example which Sujay take, right, the right? They are running today both these applications. While they are a new age company and they started their applications foundation itself on the modern application, which is containers. I'm sure you would have heard about it, Docker's containers, right? So their entire journey started with cloud native, while they still run some of the traditional applications. So how can I ensure the platform gives ability to run these side by side, right? Because this cloud native, while they're good to have, they still require a very good strong foundation, right? So that is where the same customer, they are running SDDC and they are running both these applications, right? And just to give you some figures, what Sujoy mentioned about Bahubali, right? So give you some facts and figures there. For that particular day when the tickets opened, right, or the ticketing started, the transactions went from 5 million to 30 million in a day. Imagine the load which would have come on the infrastructure part, right? And you don't necessarily plan for it. How can you just plan for 6 times a load, right? But why it could still sustain? Because everything was in software, right? They could easily bear that load and more because all their data center components are running in software, right? So quickly moving on to the next part, and before that a quick example again. I think all of you know about this. I'll not spend much time, but just to talk about that, typically we see transformation and happening in and the leaders typically is BFSI, telco, all these industries. But this is an exception where even a dairy product company, right, and we all use their products. They considered this as an opportunity to modernize, and with that vision they had, they use modernized data center as their priority. And today they have a private cloud which is completely having all their data center components in software, and they're now in the process of actually having network and security transformation. So they are looking at transforming their business and the kind of benefits they have got. That's where the famous term is come from, cows to cloud, where an information about every cow, right, is available on the cloud, right? And they have really made use of it, and we consider them as one of our important customers who have really transformed their IT, right, and help the business. So let's look at transforming networking and security. I personally feel this is very, very important because going digital, as I said, is is a journey, but the risk you should know. It is like going to a jungle, but you should know where to come out and where the risk can be, right? And 3 things are very important, right? Securing app infrastructure. So we talk about all kinds of security today. There are tons of products available, various ways of looking at security. What we at VMware personally feel that, or we feel that as a company, that we require a change in security architecture. The reason is because traditional security measures are really a point solutions, or they look at security from one perspective. Like I'm sure all of you would have implemented perimeter security, you would have implemented zonal firewalls, you would have implemented VLANs, right? But today with digital as a foundation and virtualization to the core, do we really have a visibility about what's happening about the virtualization layer? Because virtualization itself started with abstraction, right? Abstract and pull. That means you don't know what's happening in the below or underlying hardware. So that is where it becomes more important that if my apps are running in virtualization or in the cloud, how do I secure it, right? So that is the thought. We started with network virtualization first, where we started giving the services of L2 to L4. All of you are familiar about the OSI layer model. So we started with those services giving in software with our network security virtualization called NSX. And beyond that, we said that can I give visibility to the app layer? And that's where we recently announced a product called App Defense, which works at the app layer. I may not be able to go deep into that right now, but just to give you a perspective how we are looking at it differently. So if you look at the security solutions which are basically looking at securing app infrastructure today, they look at what is bad, so that I can go and address that. So what we thought, instead of looking at that bad, which is like ever increasing signatures of some 27 millions or more, and every day something new will come, and you have to go and check whether those signatures are there, and then okay, I know this is bad. I will look at good. So this is a perspective change, this is a mindset change. What does that mean? If I know that I have implemented this application and it is in good state, if I know that what are the processes associated with it, I know that how the application should behave, right, or where it should connect, where it should not connect, can I take that as a good state? Can I get a manifest out of it? And I will only look at deviation from that, right? So instead of looking at what is coming bad, I will always say this is the good state. Any deviation from this is bad. And more importantly, it is not only capturing the state. How do I respond and how soon I can respond? Today, when the attacks happen, I mean, if it is something new, you can't help it, right? I mean, you have whatever security measures you would have taken. But how soon I can get the business back? How can I remediate is the problem. And most of the attacks, if you observe, that's a challenge. People are not been able to respond to those attacks, and that has actually created the damage. So with our solution like network and security virtualization, we basically provide an automated response to these attacks. What does that mean? If the attack happens, yes, it may happen, right? But one, I will look at a good state, plus even if something happens, we'll have the ability to take action. Can I isolate that VM? Can I archive that VM? Can I delete that VM? I mean, any kind of responses. I'm just mentioning few of them. If I am able to do that, at least I'm not spreading the attack, right? So that's what we are talking about from a transformation of networking perspective. The other important thing is cloud networking, because today what's happening is while you are adopting cloud, right, you're really not sure about what's happening. It's a shared space. While all the benefits are there in terms of using it, flexibility, everything is there. But do we have a control? You may not. Because if you're a shared space, you really don't know what's happening, right? So most importantly, what you want as an experience is what I'm having on premise. Can I have the same experience in cloud? Can I have the same networking security policies? Can I have the same firewall policies taken to AWS and Azure, or for that matter IBM software or any other cloud? That's what we're talking about, right? And that's where we are saying that foundation of transforming networking and security, or looking at networking and security, has to change. You should have a solution where it can have the same kind of networking and security irrespective of where your workloads are, today and tomorrow, right? Last but not least is unifying the edge. So what we are trying to say here, I just mentioned, right, whatever level of security measures you would take on a data center, the branch, the edge, I mean, you cannot really address all those things with the traditional architectures. So today we are talking about a recent acquisition which we did in a software defined WAN space, which is called Well Cloud, which is a leader in SD-WAN, by which what we are trying to say that the same agility, same flexibility what we got in your data center with networking, virtualization, compute virtualization and storage virtualization, can you bring that to the WAN? Okay, so again I can't dwell deep into it, but just to give a perspective, can I give real-time application performance? Can I use internet links, very commodity internet links instead of the MPLS or point-to-point, which were required at one point of time, right? And they were giving you the best of the throughput and outcomes. But today it's a cost. It's a cost plus not a flexibility. How much redundancy you can have, right? I've seen customers using active passive for their business need, but then you're not utilizing the second link. So just an example, right? So how can I efficiently use all of this? Can I, like I commoditize the hardware in the data center, can I commoditize the WAN, right? I can use any internet link and I can still get the same experience for the applications and the end users. Very important, because many users today, I'm sure all of you would have work in branches. They're working on edges with various devices. How can I ensure the same experience and same security? How can I have maybe a session level VPN created for them all of a sudden? I mean, you don't need to really keep it created and block the data. So all of those things SD-WAN makes it very easy, right? So another example of a customer here, all of us know them, and one of the top service providers from a mobility perspective or the mobile perspective, right? They started their journey first with virtualization from physical world to virtual, right? But essentially why I mentioned them here is for the transforming networking and security part. Considering their data center size and the number of servers, the number of applications they are running, the kind of applications they are running, the struggle they had was mainly from a security perspective, right? And all of this was physical, right? With network virtualization, they were actually, and if I were to just take one example of firewall rules itself, right? We create firewall rules. Why? We need to protect, right? And we keep creating. Tell me one time where we immediately go and say, okay, if this application is no more there, I'll just go and delete this rule, right? While it sounds easy, nobody would want to take that as an admin. I'm talking about the admin layer, because sometimes admin really doesn't know what the impact it can create, right? But that means I have tons of rules to manage, and it really becomes a difficult job for anybody to really provision their applications or new VMs. With network or virtualization, this entire life cycle, one is managing software. You really don't require any so many rules to write, and they have really experienced this where they have reduced their rules itself from thousands of them to maybe a few hundreds or a few tens of it, right? That itself brings in a lot of agility and manageability, day to operations, everything can be streamlined without compromising the security. Last but not least in this is, whenever you say that, okay, no more, I'm not going to use this VM or application, the security rules also die with them automatically. So there is no management for the required. So this is what our customers are seeing the benefits in this solution. Coming to the last strategic IT priority, which is all about end users, and I spoke about it that how computing is also shifting to edge. 43% we are expecting in next 2 years, and every day, every industry we are seeing that that transformation happening, right? I mean, many devices are coming, multiple OSs, new versions of OSs, and you need to provide support for all of that. Why this is required again today is to empower your users, right, or your customers, and that's where we call it about digital workspace. So today, as VMware, not because it's our solution, but we use all our services or applications through mobile devices. I would be traveling, but why should I worry about my applications? If I have the right set of access, given to it, and right set of access to the applications as well, I can consume it anywhere, right? So most importantly, the secure access management part, right? Conditional access. It should not give an access to corporate data to users where they're not intended to, should not be accessing it. And I have seen customers who are having both the policies. Like they say, okay, you should use corporate owned devices. Becomes a bit easier, right? Because you can then enforce those policies easily. But there are customers increasingly now saying, bring your own devices. I mean, we are fine. But yeah, they will be enrolled into corporate, and only what you are intended or you should be accessing, you will be able to access, right? So both the kinds of users we see, and we need to give that seamless access to them. Unified endpoint management, right? Because your endpoints are changing now. There are tabs, there are desktop, there are laptops, there are mobile devices, and again various kinds of them, even rugged devices, right? In some of the cases, all of them should have the same kind of management. So that's what is the digital workspace about. And the last but not least is we keep seeing Windows 10, and a lot of people adopting it as part of the new versions, right? But how do we really manage those desktops or laptops which are using Windows 10? So that's about the workspace part of it. And again, a quick example about Delhi International Airport, where they have started this journey where they wanted to give the seamless experience or app experience to their users, and really didn't want to get into physical desktops. They started with virtualization of desktops itself, and that means a user can access it from anywhere, from any device, right? And they also, in this whole process, they could modernize their data center, because what you require at the back end is the infrastructure which is completely software defined, right? So today we have users, we have customers across the industries, right from pharmas to BFSI to telcos, who are really embracing this and really finding this as a thing to take to their employees and their customers, right? So this is what the vision we actually came up with few years back, which talks about all the strategic IT priorities, and where we are now saying that you have any applications which is supporting your business, right? Let it be a traditional applications like SQL, Oracle, or anything. Let it be a cloud native applications where we are talking about Dockers, Kubernetes, right? Containers, or any kind of SaaS applications you are consuming, right? All of them you can, as an IT, you can support with any cloud. When we are saying any cloud, it can be your private cloud, it can be your public cloud, it can be now with the edge as well, and give that flexibility to business to run it anywhere, with the ability to run or consume this by your end users or your customers or any kind of devices. And the most important part here is the right side, you can see the locks, right? The intrinsic security part. So at any point of time, you are not going to compromise with the security. It is at the data center, it is in the cloud, to the edge. Okay, that's what the vision we painted, and we said these are the strategic IT priorities which are now aligned with this vision, right? I'm sure you can actually relate it to a level with the previous discussions you had today. So if I have to just quickly talk about the same vision, today we are talking about applications and mobile apps and cloud native apps. We are on the journey about introducing all this technology which you are hearing. I think Abhijit threw a light on most of this, and you would be seeing that new age solutions or products which we would provide, we'd be using all of this, right? So I will not be delving into it, but what I am basically trying to say here is the same platform, the same vision also addresses this for tomorrow, right? It's not about today, it's about also tomorrow. Quickly for last few slides, I know I am running short of time here, but talking about partnerships, and I told about the collaborative approach, collaborative world today. Look at the kind of partners we work with. I mean, you may find that these are our competitors, but today we don't consider anybody as competition because we work almost with everyone for a specific purpose. I talked about the VMware Cloud on IBM, SoftLayer, AWS, and with Google. Specifically, I have to refer, we actually came up with a service called PKS, Pivotal Container Service, which is a joint solution between Pivotal, Google, and VMware, specifically addressing for modern applications, cloud native applications where you run containers. You require an orchestration layer which to scale your containers and manage them reliably. That's where that service has been released, and we are really seeing a good positive response from customers who are working or using cloud native apps. Same is the case with digital workspace. I mentioned about Horizon as a service, right? The VDI as a service being available from Azure, right? Today we are also talking about same networking and security policies which you see as part of VMware Cloud on AWS or IBM to be available in or are available in Azure. That means you don't require to have vSphere there, right? So we are very, very agnostic on that part as well. And last but not least, from a networking and security perspective, we are not saying that we are there to take care of the entire data center. There will be solutions which will coexist. You don't need to do a rip and replace there. But what we are saying that we can work with them to ensure that you have complete data center security and you take the security to your branches and edges, right? Or your users. This is something which we are very, very proud about, and this is our 20th glorious year. We started way back in 2000 with server virtualization. We defined the first vision in terms of software-defined data center, which many of our friends are also following now. And today we are talking about digital foundation, right? So it's a proven track record for us, 20 years, and we're bringing new things to the customer, which is really helping and resonating with them, right? I'm not going to cover everything. I think most of the things I already talked about, but this is the journey for us so far. Again, I would rather say here on this slide, you see all the analysts. So we are also analyst agnostic. So you can see all of them talking good about us, and in various areas, right? So again, all these reports are available, but we maintain our technology leadership in all the areas as well as all the analyst rate us there very well. From a net promoter score perspective, just for FYI, and you can see all these years we have been in the top 5. Again, I think if I'm not wrong, we are the only one in the top 5. So that means our vision is very well accepted in the market. Again, we feel that we as an only product or solution provider cannot reach all of you. We require to work with various partners, the ecosystem, and we are proud to have all of these guys associated with us, which can ensure that all what we are talking about as a vision is really delivered to you, and which can help your businesses, right? So last slide, and I would want you to read this, but this is a quote from our CEO Pat Gelsinger, and he's talking about the digital foundation, which I kind of tried presenting today. Most importantly, the experience or the feedback we're getting from all of the customer from worldwide, that this is really resonating with them, and they feel that this is what will help them transform their businesses and help the IT to support the business. So with that, I actually come to the end of the presentation, and I'm ready to take questions if at all anything is there.
Is there any roadmap for secure operating system images on VMware Cloud?
So I missed that first word. Which operating system?
Secure
operating system images. So if you can elaborate more on that when you're saying secure.
Like in the AWS, there are secured images available, like the Red Hat or Microsoft images. They are secured. By default, secured images are.
So when you are saying those images are even before anything boots up, they are taken care, right, in terms of all security measures. Is that correct understanding what I have? So if I have to answer this, there is one particular quick thing I will talk about, we call about is platform modules which you work with hardware vendors, and this is primarily I'm talking about on-premise, right, but this is the vSphere version, vSphere feature, sorry. So very well we ensure that when it comes to an hypervisor, right, we have an hypervisor which is very, very small footprint and very, very difficult to break in. You will not have seen any attacks or things happening. But when it comes to guest OS also, we ensure the same level of security. Even when the modules are loaded, right, all the checks are done before that. And we also work with hardware vendors to work at the BIOS level to ensure that all those checks are done, then only the operating system is loaded. Now if I have to take the same thing to the public cloud, I talked about the VMware cloud on AWS or IBM software. Because I am running the same vSphere, right, it is just that you consider it as another location for you or a DR where I am running vSphere, I can essentially have the same features used there, right. So I think no reason for roadmap, it's already available, I could say, wherever we are having VMware bare metal cloud running in public cloud. I hope you answered the question, right.